The council chamber floated in the void between stars. A massive structure built from crystallized energy and exotic metals that could survive the crushing gravity of a black hole. Inside this impossible place, 7 species gathered to decide the fate of the galaxy. The Volthari spoke first, their bodies shifting patterns of pure light and thought, cascading through colors that no human eye could perceive. They were the eldest race in the confluence, beings who had abandoned physical form 3 million years ago when their sun died, and they chose transcendence over extinction. "We have detected a new species," the Volthari ambassador announced, their voice resonating through quantum fields rather than air. They call themselves humans. From a yellow star they named Sol around the curved table. Representatives from 6 other civilizations stirred with interest. The Krix, insectoid creatures with multiple compound eyes and clicking mandibles, leaned forward on 6 legs. Their hive mind allowed them to think in parallel, solving problems that would take other species decades in mere moments. Were Prince Karks of the Xanther slammed a clawed fist against the table, his scales gleaming red and gold under the chamber's artificial light. Another primitive species? How many systems have they contaminated with their presence? A holographic display materialized above the table, showing a section of the galaxy that the confluence had marked as undeveloped space. 47 star systems glowed blue, indicating human colonization. 47 systems in only 50 years, a Krix scientist reported. Her voice a chorus of clicking sounds translated by the chamber's systems. This is unprecedented expansion for such a young species. They achieved faster than light travel only 5 decades ago. The Volthari pulsed with something that might have been concern. Most species require 2 to 3 centuries to expand beyond their home system after discovering FTL. Humans have colonized 47 systems in 1/4 that time. A Minari delegate, reptilian but smaller than the Xanther, with intelligent eyes and careful movements, studied the data streams flowing across his personal display. Their technology is crude but effective. They use nuclear fusion for power, chemical propulsion for sublight speed, and their FTL drives generate dangerous levels of radiation. Yet they expand faster than any species in recorded history, because they breathe like vermin. Kar Arx roared, his warrior pride evident in every word. "Our scans show billions on their homeworld, tens of millions on colony worlds. They spread across planets like a plague, consuming resources without thought for balance." The Volthari's light patterns became sharp, geometric. "We must decide. Do we uplift them, enslave them, or eliminate them?" Silence filled the chamber as each species considered the options. The confluence had uplifted 17 species over the past million years, bringing them advanced technology and culture in exchange for loyalty and resources. They had enslaved 12 others, using them as labor forces for mining operations and terraforming projects that would take millennia. "I propose a 4th option," Karek said, his voice dropping to something like a growl. "We invite them to join the confluence as tributaries. They surrender half their territory, accept our guidance, and provide resources for our expansion. If they refuse, we take what we need by force." The Krix scientist clicked rapidly, a translator struggling to keep pace. Analysis suggests humans may resist. Their communications intercepts show a species prone to violence and conflict. They have fought 17 major wars on their homeworld in the past century alone, killing millions of their own kind over resources and ideology. Then they will learn the price of defiance. Karax replied, his tail lashing behind him. "I volunteer to lead the pacification fleet. My warriors are eager for glory, and it has been too long since the Xanther proved their worth to the confluence." The Volthari considered this, their light dimming as they processed billions of calculations. "Very well. We authorize the formation of a Unity Armada. Each member species will contribute warships to demonstrate confluence strength. These primitives must understand the futility of resistance over the next 3 weeks. Warships gathered at the edge of human space. The Xanther brought 400 vessels. Sleek predators bristling with plasma weapons and particle accelerators. The Krix contributed 600 ships, geometrically perfect constructs that move like schools of fish in perfect coordination. The Valthari sent 300 energy beings encased in ships of solidified light. 4 other species added their fleets. The Minari brought their stealth cruisers. The Thros contributed their massive dreadnoughts. The Silicate Collective sent their mineral-hulled destroyers. And the Aqueous Dominion deployed their liquid metal warships in total. 2,847 vessels assembled in a formation that stretched across millions of kilometers of space, while Prince Karx stood on the bridge of his flagship. The Crimson Talon, watching the Armada take shape around him, his second in command, a scarred veteran named Threx, approached with careful steps. "My prince, the fleet is assembled. All ships report ready for combat," Threx reported. Bowing his head in respect, "The humans cannot possibly stand against such force." Karx studied the tactical display. Where a single human colony world glowed like a target, New Horizon, they called it. A world with 12 million human colonists and 3 small patrol ships. "Send them the ultimatum," Karx ordered, his voice carrying the absolute confidence of a warrior who had never known defeat. "Tell them they have 72 hours to surrender all human territory to the confluence. If they refuse, we will demonstrate what happens to species who defy the natural order." The message was transmitted, bouncing through quantum relays until it reached New Horizon on the colony. Alarms began to sound as military commanders realized what they faced. The largest armada assembled in 2 centuries. Bearing down on a single world with 3 ships for defense, Karx allowed himself a savage grin. They will surrender. They must surrender. No rational species would choose extinction over subjugation, but deep in human space. In star systems, the confluence had not yet detected. Emergency protocols activated. Quantum communicators lit up with Priority 1 messages. Military bases went to full alert. Shipyards that had been working in secret for 50 years began final preparations on Earth. In a bunker beneath Geneva, where the Terran Confederacy maintained its military headquarters, Fleet Admiral Marcus Webb studied the same tactical data that Karx was watching. Beside him stood Admiral Sarah Chun, captain of the TCNS Ragnarok, humanity's newest and most classified warship. "How long until the Ragnarok reaches New Horizon?" Webb asked, his weathered face showing no emotion. 68 hours at maximum velocity," Chun replied, her dark eyes reflecting the glow of tactical displays. "We'll arrive 4 hours before their deadline expires." Webb nodded slowly. 1 ship against almost 3,000. "Are you certain about this, Sarah?" Chun smiled, and there was something predatory in that expression. "Sir, they don't know what we are. They don't know what we've built. They think we're primitives playing with technology we don't understand. And when they learn otherwise?" Webb pressed. "Then they'll learn why humans don't build warships for parades and ceremonies," Chun answered. "They'll learn why we've spent 50 years preparing for this moment. They'll learn what it means when a species that evolved hunting mammoths and surviving ice ages decides to build weapons." Webb stood, straightening his uniform. "You're authorized to use any means necessary to protect New Horizon and its citizens. Show them what humanity can do. But Sarah? Sir, try to leave some of them alive. We'll need someone to deliver our message to their leaders." Chun saluted, turned on her heel, and left the bunker. 3 hours later, the TCNS Ragnarok departed from its hidden berth beyond Neptune. its massive engines burning with power that would make the Confluence's scientists weep with envy. The countdown had begun. New Horizon trembled under the weight of fear. 12 million colonists watched their skies with growing dread, knowing that somewhere beyond their atmosphere, thousands of alien warships waited to determine their fate. Governor Patricia Chun stood in the colony's command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the Confluence Armada in terrifying detail. 3 young officers from the Colonial Defense Force stood beside her, their faces pale with the knowledge that their 3 patrol frigates could do nothing against such overwhelming force. "They're just sitting there," Lieutenant Morrison said, his voice shaking slightly. 20 million kilometers out, not moving, just waiting. "They gave us 72 hours, Patricia replied, forcing her voice to remain steady. "Earth acknowledged our distress call. Help is coming." Commander Jackson, the most senior military officer on New Horizon, studied the tactical readouts with practiced eyes. "Governor, even if Earth sends everything they have, it won't be enough. That's almost 3,000 warships out there. We have 3 frigates with expired missile racks and point defense lasers designed for asteroid deflection, not combat." Patricia turned to face her officers, seeing the despair in their eyes. "I've known humanity for 63 years, and I've learned one thing. We don't surrender. We don't quit. When someone tells us we can't do something, we find a way to do it anyway. Earth told us to hold for 72 hours. So that's what we'll do." The hours crawled past like wounded animals on the Confluence flagship. War Prince Karx grew more confident with each passing moment. The humans had made no aggressive moves, sent no reinforcements, offered no resistance. "They understand their position," Threx observed, standing beside his commander. "By this time tomorrow, we will own 47 new star systems without firing a single shot." Karx nodded, his scaled face showing satisfaction. "Send another message. Tell them we are generous conquerors. If they surrender now, we will allow their government to continue as tributary administrators. If they wait until the deadline, we will install our own rulers." The message was transmitted, and on New Horizon, Patricia Chun read it with cold fury. She composed a response, typing carefully. "Humanity does not recognize your authority. We are willing to discuss peaceful coexistence, but we will never accept subjugation. We request an additional 24 hours to consult with our government." Karx read the human's response and laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "They request more time? Let them have it. Their fear will grow with every hour, making the eventual surrender sweeter." "My prince," a Velthari observer said, their light patterns showing concern. "Perhaps we should—" "Silence." Karx snapped. "I command this fleet, not you. The humans will surrender, or they will die. There is no third option." 60 hours into the deadline, the Confluence long-range sensors detected something. A single ship, massive in size, dropping out of FTL at the edge of the New Horizon system of Crix. Sensor operator forwarded the data to Karx's command station, her mandibles clicking with confusion. "War Prince, we have a new contact. One vessel, human design, estimated length 5 kilometers. Karx studied the sensor return with growing amusement. 5 kilometers? These primitives think size alone will intimidate us. Our own flagship is 3 kilometers long, and we have 40 dreadnoughts larger than that. The human ship moved through space with deliberate slowness, its engines burning with a blue-white light that hurt to look at. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing active sensor beams and reflecting almost no light. Threx leaned closer to the tactical display. "My prince, their hull composition is unusual. Our scans cannot penetrate it. It's as if the ship is made of compressed neutron star material, which is impossible." "Nothing is impossible, only improbable." Karek said dismissively. What does their ship broadcast? The communications officer, a young Xantar warrior eager to prove himself, played the human transmission. TCNS Ragnarok, Terran Confederacy Navy. Stand down your weapons and withdraw from human space, or you will be eliminated. The bridge fell silent for a moment before Karek began to laugh. His officers joined in. The sound building until it filled the entire command center with mocking humor. Did you hear that? Karek roared. One ship, one SHIP orders nearly 3,000 vessels to withdraw. What arrogance! What delusion! A Minari tactical officer studying the human vessel raised a clawed hand. Or, Prince, I recommend caution. Humans have proven unpredictable, and this ship is a target. Karek finished. These primitives need to learn respect. They need to watch their greatest warship die before their eyes. Then they will understand. He opened a channel to the entire Confluence fleet. All ships, hold position. First wave, you are authorized to engage the human vessel. Destroy it. But do so slowly. I want them to watch their hope die by degrees. 300 Xantar warships broke formation, their crimson hulls gleaming as they accelerated toward the Ragnarok plasma torpedoes armed. Particle beam cannons charged, shield systems at maximum on the bridge of the Ragnarok. Admiral Sarah Chun watched the enemy ships approach with cold calculation. Her crew of 217 men and women sat at their stations. Hands steady on controls, eyes focused on displays. XO. Status report, Chun ordered, her voice carrying the calm of someone who had trained for this moment for 20 years. Commander. David Park checked his console. All weapon systems online. Armor integrity at 100%. Reactors operating at 70% capacity. Fighter wings standing by. AI, Core Odin reports full combat readiness. Chun nodded once. Broadcast a warning one final time. Let no one say we didn't give them a chance. The message went out. Cold and clear. TCNS Ragnarok to Confluence Fleet. This is your final warning. Stand down immediately, or face destruction. We will defend human territory with lethal force. Karek sneered at the message. They still threaten us. Destroy them, now. The Xantar Vanguard opened fire from a range of 50,000 kilometers. Plasma torpedoes, superheated to temperatures that could vaporize steel in microseconds, streaked through space. Particle beams, accelerating subatomic projectiles to near-light speed, lanced toward the human ship. Missiles carrying fusion warheads locked onto their target and burned hard. The weapons struck the Ragnarok in a coordinated barrage that would have destroyed any Confluence vessel for 3 full seconds. The human ship disappeared behind a wall of nuclear fire and exotic radiation. Direct hit. The Xantar weapons officer reported. Multiple impacts confirmed. Target should be. The officer's voice died as the fire cleared. The Ragnarok sat in space exactly where it had been. Its black hull now glowing cherry red from absorbed heat, but otherwise completely intact. Impossible. Threx whispered. That much firepower should have. The human ship's hull suddenly lit up with thousands of points of light weapon ports, opening like the eyes of some vast creature waking from sleep. Evasive action. A Xantar commander screamed, but it was already too late. The Ragnarok's railguns spoke first. Magnetic accelerators, hurling tungsten rods at 40% the speed of light. Each projectile carried the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. And there were 600 guns firing in perfect synchronization. 30 Xantar warships simply ceased to exist. The tungsten rods punched through shields that were designed to stop energy weapons, but useless against physical projectiles. They cored through armor plating like it was paper. They continued through the ship's interiors, destroying everything in their path before exiting the far side in showers of molten metal and frozen. Atmosphere, what? Karek began. But events moved too quickly for Word's missile pods deployed from the Ragnarok's flanks. Each pod containing 50 warheads, the missiles accelerated hard, their drives burning at levels that would have killed biological pilots from G-forces. At 5,000 kilometers from their targets, each warhead detonated in a shaped nuclear explosion that pumped X-ray lasers. Invisible beams of concentrated radiation sliced through another 100 Xanther vessels, boiling their armor and flash-frying their crews. Ships tumbled through space. Atmosphere venting, reactors going critical. Life support failing. The surviving ships of the Vanguard broke and ran, their commanders overwhelmed by the sudden slaughter. They had lost 130 ships in less than 40 seconds. Sharak stood frozen on his bridge, his warrior's pride crashing against reality. How? How is this possible? The Valthari observer's light patterns pulsed with something that might have been fear. War Prince, we must withdraw. We cannot fight this. They do not use our technology. They use brute force, kinetic weapons, nuclear explosives, primitive methods, but effective. Nano. Karax roared. I will not retreat from primitives. All ships, attack formation. We will overwhelm them with numbers. The human ship began to move, its engines flaring brighter. It accelerated at 600 gravities, a rate that should have turned any crew into liquid paste against the bulkhead. Sarah Chun sat in her command chair, watching tactical displays update in real time. Target their command ships. Let's show them what happens when you threaten humanity. The Confluence Armada surged forward like a wave of metal and fury. 2,500 warships, representing 7 different species and 1,000,000 years of technological advancement, moved to crush a single human vessel where Prince Karax stood at his command station, claws gripping the railing hard enough to leave marks in the metal. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel. I want overlapping fields of fire. They cannot possibly withstand the combined might of the Confluence. The space between the fleets lit up with weapons fire that turned night into day. Plasma streams hot enough to ignite atmospheres. Particle beams that could cut through asteroids. Antimatter torpedoes that annihilated matter on contact. Exotic energy weapons that the Confluence had spent millennia perfecting. The Ragnarok drove straight into this storm of destruction. Without slowing, its point defense systems came online. And suddenly, the space around the human ship became a web of laser fire. Thousands of defensive lasers, each one tracking targets with computer precision, began swatting incoming weapons from the sky. Missiles exploded before reaching their target. Plasma streams dissipated against laser interference. Torpedoes detonated prematurely in chains of nuclear fire. But some weapons got through. A Thros antimatter warhead struck the Ragnarok's forward hull, releasing enough energy to vaporize a small moon. The human ship's armor sublimated into plasma. And for a moment, Karax thought they had achieved a killing blow. Then the smoke cleared, revealing the ship's secondary armor layer, already sealing the breach with self-repairing nanomaterials. The Ragnarok had taken damage. Real damage, but it was nowhere near destroyed. Their armor is layered, a Crix analyst reported, her compound eyes studying the sensor data with growing horror. Multiple redundant systems. When one layer fails, another activates. This ship is designed to take punishment that would destroy anything in our fleet. Admiral Chun felt the impact through her command chair, watching damage reports flow across her displays. Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. Casualties reported in Section 4 Alpha. Repair crews responding. Admiral, we've lost forward railgun battery 3. Commander Park reported, and our armor is down to 82% forward of frame 30. Chun's expression didn't change. Continue the attack. Target their flagships and command vessels. We need to break their coordination. The Ragnarok's main weapons spoke again, but this time they demonstrated something the Confluence had not yet seen. The ship's spinal mount railgun, a weapon that ran the entire length of the vessel's keel, charged up with electromagnetic power that made nearby sensors scream with interference. Single tungsten penetrator, twice the size of a Xanther fighter craft, accelerated down the 5-kilometer barrel. By the time it left the weapon, it was moving at 60% the speed of light. The projectile crossed 100,000 kilometers in less than 2 seconds. It struck a Throst dreadnought amidships, and the massive vessel simply disintegrated. The kinetic energy was so enormous that the ship didn't explode so much as it converted to plasma and shrapnel. They killed the infinite depth. A Throst commander broadcast on the fleet channel, his aqueous voice rippling with shock. That ship had shields that could withstand a supernova. They punched through it like it wasn't even there. Panic began to spread through the Confluence fleet. Ships that had never known defeat in centuries of warfare suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that didn't play by their rules. The elegant energy weapons and sophisticated shields that the Confluence prized meant nothing against projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. A Velthari energy ship moved to intercept the Ragnarok, attempting to use its advanced technology to drain the human vessel's power systems. For 3 seconds, it worked. The human ship's engines flickered as energy was siphoned away. Then, the Ragnarok deployed a new weapon: compressed matter bombs, devices that the Terran Confederacy had developed in secret, based on theories that most species considered too dangerous to pursue. When detonated, they created temporary micro-black holes that consumed everything within a 500-kilometer radius. The Velthari ship was pulled into the singularity, along with 17 other vessels that had been too close. They were crushed to atomic density before the black hole evaporated in a burst of Hawking radiation. What kind of species weaponizes black holes? A Minari captain screamed into the command channel. This is madness. This is... His transmission cut off as railgun fire from the Ragnarok cored his ship on the Confluence flagship. War Prince Karix watched his perfect armada disintegrate in 20 minutes of combat. He had lost 347 ships. The humans had lost nothing. Their single vessel continued to fight, continued to kill, continued to demonstrate the terrible efficiency of weapons designed by a species that had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. "My prince," Thrax said carefully, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "We must withdraw. We cannot win this battle. That ship will destroy the entire fleet if we continue." Karix's claws dug deeper into the railing. "No, I will not, cannot, accept defeat from primitives. There must be something we're missing, some weakness we can exploit." A Krix intelligence officer interrupted, her mandibles clicking urgently. "War Prince, I have access to human public data networks. You need to see this." She transferred her findings to the main display, and suddenly, every commander in the Confluence fleet was watching historical footage from Earth cities burning, mushroom clouds rising, footage of human soldiers fighting in jungles, deserts, frozen wastelands, weapons of horrifying sophistication used against other humans. "They are a death world species," the Krix officer explained, her voice shaking. "Their planet has gravity 30% higher than galactic standard. Their atmosphere contains enough oxygen to fuel fires that can consume entire continents. Their native predators include pack hunters with cooperative intelligence." More data scrolled across screens, charts showing human history, an unbroken chain of warfare stretching back thousands of years. Every major technological advancement driven by military needs. Nuclear weapons developed and immediately used against their own kind. Biological warfare, chemical warfare, cyber warfare. They didn't just learn to fight. The Krix continued. Fighting is what they are. Their entire civilization is built on competition, conflict, survival of the fittest. They domesticated wolves, apex predators, into pets. They hunted megafauna to extinction. They survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. Of Althari observers' light patterns shifted to deep purple, a color indicating existential dread. The ship's name, Ragnarok. I have found the reference in their mythology. It means the twilight of the gods, a prophesied battle that ends in the death of everything. Karik stared at the display, watching footage of human soldiers storming through enemy fire without hesitation, facing death with determination rather than fear. How do we fight this? How do we defeat an enemy that sees war as natural? We don't, Threk said quietly. War Prince, I have served under your command for 40 years. I have never questioned your courage or your judgment, but we cannot win this battle. That ship, that species, they are something we have never encountered before. As if to emphasize the point, the Ragnarok launched a new attack. Dozens of smaller craft burst from its hangar base, moving with impossible agility. At first, the Confluence commanders thought they were drones, automated fighters with eye guidance. Then they intercepted the communications between the fighters and the mothership, and realized with horror that each craft was piloted by a human, and the pilots were laughing Blue 3. I've got 2 bogies on my 6, one pilot transmitted. His voice excited rather than afraid. Can you clean them up? Roger that, Blue 3. Rolling in now, Fox 2. Fox 2. Another pilot responded. And a Xanther corvette exploded as missiles struck its engines. Human fighters moved through the battlefield like wolves through a herd of prey animals. They were smaller than Confluence fighters but faster, more maneuverable, more aggressive. And their pilots fought with a combination of skill and recklessness that the Confluence had never encountered. A Crick's squadron commander watched in disbelief as a human fighter performed a maneuver that should have killed its pilot from G-forces. The small craft spun on 3 axes simultaneously, dodging fire from 4 different directions, then accelerated at rates that made his own pilot's blood vessels burst from strain. How are they surviving those G-forces? He demanded. The Crick scientist who had accessed human databases answered. They use inertial dampening technology. We have theoretical models for such devices, but the power requirements are... Wait. She paused, mandibles clicking rapidly as she cross-referenced data. War Prince, I have found something. 53 years ago, humans encountered a derelict vessel in their outer solar system. They recovered it and reverse-engineered the technology, including inertial dampening. What species built the derelict? Karax demanded. Unknown, the scientist replied. But whatever species created it. They were far more advanced than we are, and the humans learned from it. Karax felt something he had never experienced in 300 years of life. True fear. Not fear of death, which was an honorable end for a warrior, but fear of irrelevance. Fear that everything the Confluence had. The message from the Ragnarok echoed through every Confluence ship in the fleet. You have 5 minutes to power down your weapons and prepare for boarding. Any vessel that attempts to flee will be destroyed. Any vessel that fires will be destroyed. Comply or die. War Prince Karx stood on the bridge of the Crimson Talon, his pride warring with his survival instinct. Around him, his crew waited for orders, their eyes showing the same conflict that raged in their commander's heart. My prince, Threk said quietly, approaching with careful steps. We have lost 712 vessels. Another 300 have taken critical damage. If we continue fighting, the fleet will be annihilated. Karx turned to face his second-in-command, and for the first time in centuries, uncertainty showed on his scaled features. To surrender to primitives. Threx. You know what this means for our honor, for the Xanther people. I know what it means to watch our entire race die for pride. Threx countered. That ship, that single ship, has destroyed a quarter of the most powerful fleet assembled in 2 centuries. What happens when more human vessels arrive? What happens when Earth sends their full military force? The War Prince looked at the tactical display, where the Ragnarok hung in space like a black star of death, its weapons still hot from use. How did we misunderstand them so badly? How did we not see what they were? The Crick scientist who had been researching human culture approached the command station, her movements hesitant. War Prince, I have continued my analysis of human civilization. I believe I understand why they are different, Carix ordered. His voice hollow. Every species in the confluence evolved on worlds that were comfortable. The scientist began. The Valthari achieved spaceflight during their sun's stable phase. We Cricks developed technology in underground hives where danger was minimal. Even your people, War Prince, evolved on a world with predictable seasons and abundant prey. She brought up an image of Earth on the main display. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them constantly. Ice ages that covered continents. Volcanic eruptions that blotted out the sun. Predators that hunted in packs. Diseases that wiped out entire populations, and through it all, they survived not through superior strength or speed, but through intelligence and cooperation. More images appeared. Early humans tracking prey for days, until it collapsed from exhaustion. Tribes working together to bring down animals 10 times their size. Primitive weapons that evolved from stones to spears to bows to guns to nuclear weapons. They are persistence hunters. The Cricks continued. Their hunting strategy is to chase prey until it dies of exhaustion. They don't give up. They don't stop. They track their target for days, weeks, months if necessary. And this psychology extends to everything they do. She pulled up footage of human space exploration. Failed missions that killed crews but led to design improvements. Accidents that would have ended other species' programs but only made humans more determined. Setbacks that they treated as learning experiences rather than defeats. When they discovered that faster than light, travel was possible. They didn't wait for someone to teach them. They experimented. Failed, died, learned, and tried again until they succeeded. When they found that derelict ship, they didn't wait for its owners to return. They took it apart and learned from it. A Valthari observes light patterns, pulsed with something approaching comprehension. They see the universe as something to conquer, not something to coexist with. No, the Crick scientist corrected. They see the universe as something to survive in. Conquest is just a tool for survival, and they have spent 10,000 years perfecting that tool. The 5-minute deadline approached. Carix knew he had to make a decision. He could order his fleet to continue fighting, to die with honor against an enemy they couldn't defeat. Or he could surrender and live to see the shame in his people's eyes. Open a channel to the human ship, he said finally. Each word tasting like poison. Admiral Chun received the incoming transmission and nodded to her communications officer. Put him on screen. The image of War Prince Carix appeared on the main display, his reptilian features showing a mixture of fury and resignation. I am War Prince Carix of the Xanthar Dominion, commander of the Confluence Unity Fleet. We surrender. Cease your attack. Chun studied the alien commander for a moment before responding. Power down all weapon systems. Disable your FDL drives. Prepare to receive boarding parties. Any ship that attempts to escape or fights back will be destroyed. Do you understand? I understand, Carix replied, the words clearly causing him physical pain. Good, Chun said. We will discuss terms once we have secured your fleet and War Prince. You made a mistake today. You assume that because we are young as a spacefaring species. We are weak. Humanity has survived 10,000 years of warfare. We have fought each other with every weapon we can imagine. From rocks to nuclear bombs. We know war in ways you can't comprehend. She leaned forward slightly. You came here expecting primitives who would bow to superior technology. What you found was a species that has been preparing for this moment for 50 years. Did you really think you were the first aliens we encountered? Karek's S widened. What? But our surveillance showed you what we wanted you to see. Chun interrupted. 50 years ago, we found a derelict vessel in our outer solar system. We studied it. We learned from it, and we realized that we were not alone in the universe. We understood that someday someone would come, and we prepared. She gestured to the Ragnarok on the tactical display. This ship is not our greatest weapon. It's not even our most powerful ship. It's a scout cruiser, designed specifically for first contact scenarios. Earth's actual military fleet numbers in the thousands. With dreadnoughts twice this size, the Confluence commanders listening to this exchange felt their worlds crumble if the Ragnarok was just a scout vessel. What horrors did humanity consider a true warship? Why? A Velthari observer asked, their light patterns showing genuine confusion. Why build such weapons? Why prepare for war when you had not yet met another species? Chun's expression hardened. Because of the signal? Signal? Karax repeated. 50 years ago, when we achieved FTL for the first time, our scientists detected something from deep space. A transmission. Ancient and powerful, repeating on a loop. It took us 30 years to translate it. And when we did, she paused, and for a moment, fear showed in her eyes. The message was a warning. They are coming. Prepare. Unite or die. We didn't know who they were. We didn't know when they would come. But we knew we had to be ready. The Confluence fleet fell silent as this information sank in. Humanity hadn't built its military to conquer. They had built it to survive against something they didn't even understand yet. The derelict ship we found, Chun continued, had been destroyed by weapons that made ours look primitive. Whatever species built that vessel, they were far more advanced than you, and something killed them anyway. So we prepared. We built ships. We trained soldiers. We developed weapons that could fight anything we can imagine. She looked directly at Karex. And then you arrived, threatening our people, demanding our surrender. Did you think we would just submit? Did you think we survived ice ages and plagues and world wars by giving up when faced with superior numbers? No, Karex said quietly. I see now that I understood nothing about your species. You're not alone, Chun replied. Most species seem to think that advanced technology means abandoning violence. That civilization requires giving up the ability to fight. Humanity never made that mistake. We know that peace is only possible when you're strong enough to defend it. Commander Park approached Chen's command chair. Admiral, we're detecting movement in the Confluence fleet. Some vessels are attempting to break formation and flee. Chun's expression didn't change. Odin, target fleeing vessels. Disable engines, but avoid destroying them if possible. I want them alive to spread word of what happened here. The Ragnarok's weapons spoke again. This time, with surgical precision, railgun rounds struck engine sections on 17 ships attempting to escape, crippling them but leaving their crews alive. Let that be a lesson. Chun broadcast to the entire Confluence fleet. You don't run from humans. You don't threaten humans. You don't attack human territory. You tried to enslave us today. Instead, you learned what happens when predators meet a species that evolved hunting predators over the next 6 hours. Human boarding parties secured the Confluence vessels. Special Forces soldiers in powered armor moved through alien ships, taking control of key systems, securing weapons. Processing prisoners were Prince Karex was brought aboard the Ragnarok along with the other senior Confluence commanders. They were escorted to a conference room where Admiral Chun waited. Surrounded by tactical displays and armed guards, sit, Chun ordered, gesturing to chairs designed for various body types. The alien commanders complied, their pride shattered, but their survival instincts intact. Karex studied the human admiral, noting her calm demeanor, her controlled movements. her eyes that show both intelligence and a willingness to use violence when necessary. "Your Confluence Council sent you here to conquer us," Chum began. "They assumed we would surrender rather than fight. They were wrong. Now you're going to deliver a message for me." "What message?" Carx asked. 3 weeks after the Battle of New Horizon, the Confluence Council convened in their floating chamber once more. At this time, the atmosphere was dramatically different. The elegant confidence that had characterized their earlier meeting had been replaced by a nervous tension that permeated every species. Present War Prince Carx stood before the council, his scales no longer gleaming with pride, but dulled by the shame of defeat. Beside him stood representatives from the other 6 species who had participated in the failed invasion, each one bearing the marks of their encounter with humanity. The humans destroyed 2,214 vessels, Carx reported, his voice flat and emotionless. They disabled another 600. Total casualties exceed 1 million Confluence personnel. Their losses: 0 ships destroyed, 47 fighter pilots killed in action. The council chamber remained silent as the numbers sank in. A Volthari elder, their light patterns dim with disbelief, finally spoke. "How is this possible? We sent the largest armada assembled in 2 centuries, 7 species. Our best ships, our most advanced weapons, and 1 human vessel defeated us." "Not defeated," Carx corrected. "Humiliated. Destroyed. Broken. That ship played with us. It could have annihilated the entire fleet within hours, but instead, it disabled most vessels and took prisoners. The humans wanted us alive to deliver their message." "And what message is that?" a Minari counselor asked, his voice tight with barely controlled furcar. Eric's gestured, and a holographic projection appeared. Admiral Sarah Chun's face filled the chamber, her dark eyes looking directly at each council member in turn. "Leaders of the Galactic Confluence," the recording began. "I am Admiral Sarah Chun of the Terran Confederacy Navy. You sent a fleet to conquer my people. You threatened our worlds. You demanded our surrender. You made a critical error. You assumed that youth meant weakness." The image changed to show the Ragnarok in all its terrible glory. Surrounded by the wreckage of Confluence ships, humanity has existed as a spacefaring species for only 50 years. This is true, but we have existed as a warfighting species for 10,000 years. Every major technological advance in our history has been driven by military necessity. Every generation has known war. More images appeared, human cities destroyed and rebuilt, mushroom clouds rising over populated areas, soldiers fighting in every conceivable environment from frozen tundra to burning deserts to the vacuum of space. "We did not build weapons because we are cruel," Chun continued. "We built them because we learned, through bitter experience, that peace only exists when you are strong enough to defend it. 50 years ago, we discovered we were not alone in the universe. We found a derelict vessel, studied its technology, and realized that someday, someone would come to our territory." The image shifted to show star charts with human territories marked in blue and Confluence space in red. "We prepared for that day. We built ships. We trained warriors. We developed weapons that could fight anything we can imagine. And when you arrived, demanding our submission, we were ready." Chan's face returned to the display, and now her expression showed something that made every council member instinctively recoil: determination. "Absolute and unwavering. I am authorized by the Terran Confederacy to offer you terms," she said. "First, humanity and the Confluence will establish formal diplomatic relations. We will exchange ambassadors and open communication channels. Second, we will share certain technologies with you, medical advances that will save billions of lives, agricultural techniques that will end hunger on your worlds, educational methods that will benefit your children. We offer these freely, as a gesture of goodwill. Third, we will establish a mutual defense pact. Human territory and confluent space will be considered allied zones. Any external threat to either will be met with combined military force. The council members stirred at this. A Crix representative clicked urgently. Why would humans offer alliance after we attacked them? What did they gain? Chun seemed to anticipate the question. Because the galaxy is larger than both our civilizations combined. Because there are threats out there that neither of us can face alone. And because we detected something 50 years ago that terrifies us far more than your armada ever could. She gestured. And a new image appeared, a signal pattern, complex and alien. Repeating endlessly, this is the signal that humanity detected when we first achieved FTL travel. It took us 30 years to translate. The message is simple. They are coming. Prepare. Unite or die. We don't know who sent it. We don't know who they are. But we know that whatever species created that warning was far more advanced than either humans or the confluence. The implications crashed over the council like a tidal wave. The derelict ship we found, Chung continued, was destroyed by weapons that make human technology look primitive. Whatever killed that vessel, whatever the warning refers to, it's still out there, and it's coming. She leaned forward, her intensity radiating through the hologram. So yes, we will offer you alliance. Not because we're merciful, not because we forgive your attempt to enslave us, but because we understand something that your confluence has apparently forgotten. Survival requires cooperation. Civilization requires unity against common threats. However, and here her voice took on an edge sharp enough to cut. Make no mistake, if the confluence ever threatens human territory again, if you ever attempt to conquer or subjugate us, we will not show mercy a second time. We will mobilize the full strength of the Terran Navy, and we will reduce every confluence world to radioactive ash. This is not a threat. It is a promise. We have demonstrated what one human scout cruiser can do. Imagine what 1,000 dreadnoughts could accomplish. Imagine what happens when a species that has perfected war for 10,000 years decides to wage total war. You have 7 standard days to respond to our terms. Chun concluded. Accept our offer of alliance. Or reject it and never enter human space again. But understand this. The warning signal continues to broadcast. Whatever it warns us about is still coming, and when it arrives, you will wish you had accepted our friendship. The hologram faded, leaving the council in stunned silence. Finally, the Volthari elder spoke. Their light patterns showing a mixture of colors that indicated confusion, fear, and grudging respect. They offer us alliance after we tried to destroy them. They offer us alliance because they understand strategic thinking. A Crix military analyst responded, her mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Humans fight wars for objectives, not glory. They wanted to protect their territory, which they accomplished. Destroying us completely would waste resources and create long-term enemies. Allying with us creates strategic partners against whatever threat that signal represents, a Xanter general. One of Karik's rivals slammed his fist against the table. I refuse to accept terms from primitives. We should rebuild our fleet and return with overwhelming force. With what? Karex asked quietly. We lost our best ships, our most experienced crews. It would take decades to rebuild what we lost in a single day. And for what? So more of our people can die against an enemy that sees warfare as a natural state of existence? He stood taller, meeting the eyes of his critics. I fought them. I watched my fleet burn. I saw what one human warship could do. And I tell you now, if they send more ships, if they decide to wage total war against the confluence, we will lose. Not might lose, not probably lose. We will lose. The chamber erupted in argument. Some supported Karik's assessment. Others called for revenge. Some proposed hiding and hoping the humans would forget about them. The Velthari elder pulsed bright enough to silence everyone. Enough. We must decide. Do we accept the human terms, or do we reject them and risk extinction? I have analyzed their offer, a Minari diplomat said, his voice thoughtful. They ask for very little. Diplomatic relations, mutual defense, respect for territorial boundaries in exchange. They offer technology and military protection. From a purely strategic perspective, accepting serves our interests. But our pride, the Xanther general began. Pride is for species who can afford it. Karix interrupted. We cannot. I have learned this lesson at great cost. The humans are not primitives. They are survivors. They are warriors. And they are offering us a chance to survive alongside them rather than die opposing them. The vote was taken by a narrow margin. The Confluence Council accepted the human terms 6 months later. A very different meeting took place on a space station at the border between human and Confluence territory. Admiral Chun stood in a conference room with a dozen Confluence representatives, including War Prince Karix, who had been appointed as the first Confluence ambassador to humanity. The treaty has been ratified by both our governments, a Minari diplomat announced. As of this moment, human and Confluence territories are formally allied. Chun nodded. We're also prepared to begin technology transfers. Our medical teams are ready to share techniques for treating genetic diseases. Our agricultural specialists can help optimize food production. Our educational experts. Why? Karax interrupted, his question blunt. Why share this technology when you could use it as leverage? Why treat us as equals when you demonstrated such superiority? Chun studied the Xanther warrior for a moment before responding. Because superiority in warfare doesn't make us better.